You're listening to Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast.
When your heart is aching and your world is shaking, don't give up. No, don't give up.
Hello and welcome to Oh My Health, There Is Hope, the podcast. I'm your host, Jana, and today I'm here with an amazing guest, Meredith Oke. Meredith is a co-founder of QuantumHealthTV, a media and coaching company that spreads the radical but ancient message that light affects our health and changing your light bulbs can change your life. Meredith discovered this breakthrough science researching solutions for her chronic fatigue, and now her company offers simple, easy, and understanding education and coaching tools that support people to renew their health by optimizing their light. And I am dying. I, for one, want to know so much more about this. I do all kinds of light therapy, and I'm telling you, it does change the way you feel. So I am so glad that we have you here today. Welcome, Meredith.
Thank you so much, Jana. It's a pleasure to be here. Love your podcast.
Thank you. First I'm going to ask you to share a story of hope, but I'm so excited to have you here because that's kind of, I'm not a big girl on trendy things, but I've always been fascinated with light because I feel like it does heal me. Like I can feel it energizing me. So I cannot wait till we talk about that. But we ask all of our guests at the beginning of the show to share their story of hope. So do you want to share your story of hope with us?
Yes, I do. So my story of hope is about how I sort of came into my 40s. I just had given birth to my third child, and I felt awful all the time. And the feedback that I tended to get was, well, of course you're tired. You have 3 children. And I kind of thought, well, I would like to enjoy this. Like, this is a special time in life. There was something about the idea that I was just supposed to feel wrecked all the time because I was a mom that didn't sit well with me. And then the fatigue that I was experiencing got worse and worse and worse. And I had a light bulb moment when I was talking to a dear friend of mine who was diagnosed with breast cancer. And she was they caught it early at that point. And so she was undergoing a very long treatment of chemotherapy. And I was asking her about it. And she was explaining how she'd had to change her life because of the side effects of chemotherapy. So she was saying, I just feel, the main thing is that I feel kind of tired and I have brain fog. So I have to kind of schedule each activity in the day, and I can only do so many things before I know I have to go lie down, and I have to scale back on, I still can do things, but I have to scale back. And she started, the way she was explaining her side effects, I just thought, that's how I live my life. That's normal for me. And for this person who was not used to feeling like that, this was a really serious side effect for her. And it just made me realize that I had been normalizing a level of fatigue and brain fog and an inability to really do all the things I wanted to do. And that moment clarified it for me. So I did I was a fairly health conscious person. So I also felt a bit like, oh, I guess I wasn't as good at being healthy as I thought, I started to do all the things, which of course included a lot of food stuff. And I joke that what saved me is that I'm not great in the kitchen. So the idea of micromanaging my food and the food of my children for the next 40 years I was like, no, there has to be something else. So I just got really quiet and I closed my eyes and I said, okay, Meredith, you listen to so many podcasts, you read so much, there must be something out there besides food and supplements that you're missing. Because if that's all there is, I just felt like throwing in the towel. And my brain moved back to an interview with a guy called Dr. Jack Cruz, who I think you've had on. And I was like, I think he said something about light. And I went back and re-listened to an interview that I had already listened to, and it didn't really land, but I listened to it from a place of desperation. And I just went, oh my God. And I could see all of these things that I was doing in my life that were negating all of the effort that I was making to feel better. And it was from that moment on, I went down that rabbit hole. And the results that I got were much, much different than when I was ignoring my light environment.
I definitely was hoping that you could explain to everybody exactly what you feel that quantum biology is, because I have so many people like, I don't know what that means. Like, it's so not in my wheelhouse that I don't even know what I'm missing, if I'm missing anything. And maybe I'm already doing it. I don't even know it.
Well, and that's the thing is if we're living in a kind of old fashioned way where we spend a lot of time outside and we go to bed early and, we don't go on our phones and our computers late at night, there is a strong chance that you are living in a quite optimized way. What I think has happened that sort of brought this concept into people's minds is a whole bunch of things. One is the advent of the tablet and the smartphone. So people are looking at screens much later at night, bringing their devices into their bed, which is really, really bad for you. At the same time, there's a lot of science that has come out just in the last 4 or 5 years, which in scientific terms is like 5 minutes ago, because it takes so long for new science to enter into the mainstream consciousness. There's a lot of new science showing that mitochondria is the source of health, that mitochondria are talking to our light environment all the time, and that quantum mechanics can take place inside a living system. So when you put together the blue light toxicity that's causing a lot of chronic illness with this new science, which is the overlap of quantum physics and biology, you get an explanation for all of the chronic illness, which didn't exist a few years ago. And there are Nobel Prizes for this work on circadian biology and the epigenetic qualities of mitochondria, which means that they're paying attention to your environment. So everything you do matters, not just what you put inside your body, but where you put your body.
So I had to tell you this weird thing that I do that I do instinctively, and I didn't realize that my body was craving it. But if I'm not feeling well, especially like in the summer months when the sun's like nice and, yummy, I do a couple of things. I find myself out in the morning grounding into the grass and just like soaking in the sun. But there are sometimes, my husband thinks I'm a nut, but I go get in our car because it's super warm and I can feel all the sun coming in on me. And I just sit there in the middle of summer. And it feels good. I literally feel it energizing me.
Yes.
And I've just always instinctively done things like that because I knew it made my body feel good.
Yes. And that is exactly what's happening. So standing outside barefoot, unless you're on top of a bunch of wires in the ground or something, but that's another topic. But standing outside barefoot in the natural sunlight is literally like charging your battery in a way that cannot happen in any other environment. It's like all of the billions of mitochondria in our body are reading that sunlight and using it to charge up, and they're pulling the electrons out of the earth and using it to charge up. So it's like, I was doing an interview recently and I was saying to them, so like, instead of having a cup of coffee, if I went for a 10-minute walk outside, I would be re-energizing my body. I would feel the effects, like as if I had a cup of coffee, and they're like, absolutely. And I tried it and it works. And like, so that's what's happening. The sun is literally the powerhouse of your cells. So even if you're eating really well and you're exercising and you're doing all these things, if you're not putting your body in a natural light environment, it can't be turned on. It's not turned on properly and it can't get charged up properly.
Where do you live? What state?
So I'm currently in New York State.
New York. Okay. So I used to work in Washington, in Seattle.
Yeah.
And I remember when I went there, because there's not a lot of sunlight except for like a couple months out of the year. And I remember feeling depression, like tired all the time. I didn't want to get out of bed when I was there, and I was working and it was really hard. And I went to the doctor and they said, you need light therapy. And they told me to go to a tanning bed. This was like 25 years ago. Right. And they're like, you need light. And I could not stay longer than 2 weeks. I would have to come home because I live in sunny California. Where the weather's always the same. And I got recharged, and it was the weirdest thing. But then I understood the connection of my body and the sunshine and, getting that energy and frequency into my body and what it did for me. And it seems really weird, but your bodies are so intuitive that it's telling you exactly what you need, or at least mine did.
Yes, no, absolutely. And the thing about high latitude places is that it is totally possible to get enough light during the winter in a high latitude place. It just takes a long time. So you could go outside in California in 10 minutes, your body gets charged up. Whereas, where I am in New York State, I would probably need to go for like an hour-long walk. So people do get more depressed in the winter, but it's not because nature is not providing what we need. It's because we've created a lifestyle where we're unavailable for that. we're inside all day long and not getting the right levels of sunlight, and our indoor lighting is not matching what's happening outside.
So I love your comment, changing our light bulbs can change your life. And how would we start changing our light bulbs? Like, what would that look like for us?
So one of the principles of quantum biology, which is very closely aligned with circadian biology, right, is that we are programmed by light. So the sun rises in the morning and has a certain type of light spectrum coming out of it, which literally programs our brains to wake up. So if we wake up in the morning and the first thing we see is a sunrise, even if it's behind clouds or behind a building, if we're outside at sunrise time, we're literally programming our brain to stop with all the nighttime neurotransmitters and hormones, to put those away and to turn on all the daytime stuff. So it's like turning the switch from sleep to productivity. And then throughout the day, the sun does all different types of things and giving different messages to our body to start making melatonin, which we're going to use later when we're sleeping, and all, dopamine and serotonin and all of this wonderful stuff that we need. So with our light bulbs, we want them to match as closely as possible what's happening outside, so that the signal is as close as possible to the natural light, which is what programs us and makes us run optimally. So there's a lot of things you can do with light bulbs, but a key thing would be to not have bright LED lights on after sunset, and to switch to incandescent bulbs. And then later at night to even switch to like a red light bulb, because historically speaking, we evolved under the sun. So our eyes and our bodies are not used to seeing white or blue or green light past sunset. It's only what you would get out of like a fire.
I feel like you are right on the money. And obviously the science backs this up. But when you think about our ancient ancestors, they didn't live indoors. They didn't have fake lighting that came on at night. They had candle lighting, right? Even not quite as far back as prehistoric times, right? They had candle lighting. And then we've gotten all these beautiful gifts that we've created, but it's changed our ecosystem in our body and how we affect to what is naturally there for us. And it's not always good. So one of the things that you said that I am really good about doing is I turn up all electronics at 5. My last call's usually at 4. I know that I live in front of this computer and on my phone, but at 5 o'clock it goes off, and I do not even open it again till 9 in the morning. So I know my first calls start at 10. So at 9, I catch up on everything. So I have just that, because we have to, let's face it, everyone's on social media. Everybody's working on the internet. It's part of our life. But if you don't set those boundaries, it's going to really mess up with your system.
Yes, that is a really, really healthy way to live, Jana.
Well, I did it because my husband is like, if I have to knock that phone out of your hand. So I do it because he gets home right around then. And so he gets my full attention when he's here. So I stay away from all of that stuff, but I found I sleep better. Yeah. I sleep's really solid. People are like, do you have any problems sleep? Nope. I close my eyes. I go to sleep. I know it's bedtime. I don't do anything. I use my bedroom for sleep space. It's where I go to relax, and there's nothing, going on around me. So I sleep really well, and I feel it in the morning. I know people say, oh, I get 12 hours sleep. I get 8 hours, but I wake up exhausted. You're not sleeping well then.
Yes. And that was me during that phase I was talking about with chronic fatigue. I was getting 10 hours of sleep a night and I was still exhausted, but I was reading on my iPad before bed, right? So I'd take all these supplements and do all this other stuff. And then I would turn on my iPad to read a book before bed, which completely messed up my sleep, which is when your brain repairs itself and all this amazing stuff happens when you're sleeping. But I was telling my brain that it was solar noon and then turning my iPad off. And I still fell asleep because I was so fatigued, but I wasn't getting the quality of sleep that I needed because my hormones and my neurotransmitters were all messed up from the blue light that I'd been blasting into my retina when I was supposed to be giving it the message that it was that it was dark.
By the way, my daughter is 25 years. She's been a sleep expert working in sleep. She's a DNM, and they have done where they hook you up to electrodes and they monitor people who are on their phones before they fall asleep, what their sleep pattern looks like, and those who are following a more regiment program where, and you can see like each phase that you go to sleep in, right, is healing a different part of your body. Some of it's your organs, some of it's your brain. Like it's literally going through phases. And if you keep waking up or getting disrupted and you're never hitting those phases, you wake up exhausted because your body hasn't done what it needs to do during your sleep pattern. So it's really fascinating. Like she did her whole thesis on sleeping and grounding at the same time.
Oh, that's so
looks
cool.
like.
I'd love to interview her. I'll have to get her.
I definitely will connect you with her. But yeah, her whole thing, you wore these rings, you slept 2 weeks non-grounded, 2 weeks grounded, and it ran all these numbers on what was happening while you were sleeping. It was fascinating. I find science fascinating.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I didn't understand because I was like, well, I fall asleep, I must be getting sleep. But I didn't realize that, not being grounded and blasting the wrong light completely disrupts everything that's supposed to be happening. So you wake up feeling like you didn't sleep.
So Meredith, what are some like tips that we can start doing? Because you're not going to change everything overnight, right? And if you try, you will not succeed. It's just not. But if you can change one thing and get really comfortable with that, it becomes a habit, a beautiful new part of your journey, try another. Like mine's been an 11-year journey of getting well, and it was one little thing at a time. So what be a couple of things that we can like really start doing right now that's going to start creating that beautiful change in our lives?
Yeah, I love that because it's definitely a journey. And the beauty of these health journeys, right? You change the one small thing and you feel better, which gives you the energy and the motivation to change another. And, we all, we know that the foundation of all chronic illness is inflammation, and the wrong light increases inflammation. So anything that we can do to shift from the wrong light to the right light is going to help lower inflammation in our bodies, which is going to heal whatever's going on for you. It's like sprinkling fairy dust over all of the wonderful health habits that everybody already has. I'm sure your audience is very conscious of these things. So I think there's two things that I recommend as a really, really good starting place. One is to get morning sunlight, not through a window. It has to be, a screen is okay. So if you live in an apartment, you can maybe just open a window. If you live on the ground, going outside is ideal, is to go outside in the morning and allow your eyes and as much skin as possible, depending on the temperature, to soak in the natural light and start your day being programmed for the right time for where you are in the world. The second thing would be to wear blue blocking glasses if you're need to turn on a TV or a laptop or look at your phone after sunset. So if you can block artificial light after sunset with blue blocking glasses or by just not turning anything on and start your day by going outside, you'll notice immediate benefits, just those two little things.
So most people that I talk to, I like to meditate in the morning. I like to do my yoga in the morning. I like to just have my coffee in silence, right? That 15 minutes. It really, you don't even have to be out there 15 minutes. Sometimes I'm out there for 5 or 10, but I never miss a morning anymore, unless it's raining, which doesn't happen a lot in California. But I literally go out there and, I sit in my pajamas, I dig my feet into the ground, or sometimes I just sit on the grass and I just absorb it. And that's all you have to do. It's the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And if it's too cold or there's a problem, like just crack a window. That's another little hack that can be super helpful, is every time you're in the car, make sure your windows open a crack.
So why
because you're getting the light through the
Why
using
is
that
the
little crack.
sunlight coming through glass, like a window, different than being out in the sun?
So the glass, the way that it's manufactured now, and this is not true of glass when it was made of crystal. Like if you go into an old cathedral in Europe and it has that special feeling inside, that's because the light comes through the crystal unfiltered. The way that our modern glass is manufactured, it blocks out a huge portion of the rays that are giving the correct signal to our cells.
That makes sense.
It actually turns the sunlight into junk light, unfortunately.
Oh, I love
So,
that.
yeah. There's
But
a
it keeps our
wonderful,
houses cool or warm, right?
yes.
So I
So
love that. I did not know that. I always
yeah,
feel like I'm always in the sun because the sun's like shining on me all the time. But you're right. I have those special glass windows that keeps the heat out or the cold
yeah,
out.
exactly. It also,
So I've been sitting in
yeah.
junk light all day. I love it. Meredith, where can people find you and learn more about how they can get healthier just using the earth?
Yeah. So we're on Instagram. There's a lot of free interviews on there with some great experts, like talking about how this stuff works, at Quantum Health TV on Instagram, at Quantum Health TV on Twitter. QuantumHealth.tv is our URL. I'll make sure it's working properly. And we'll soon have a companion website called the Quantum Biology Collective. And that's going to connect people to practitioners who understand this. So whether you need a fitness trainer or a therapist or a health coach, everyone in there will have light incorporated into the way that they treat their patients.
You know, we still have a couple minutes. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you that I almost forgot, which is really important to me to ask, is like, there's these trendy things going around and I want to know that there's science to back them up. So I know that people are like, they use red light therapy, blue light therapy.
Yeah.
They use all these light therapies. Are those things that are real? Are they good for you? Are they really beneficial? Or are they just marketing?
It totally depends on the device.
Mhm.
So I would say blue light therapy, as far as I understand, is not helpful in any capacity. Red light therapy, which is also called photobiomodulation, can be extremely helpful. You just want to make sure that you are purchasing a high quality device.
So I'm so glad that you said that because I'm just going to do this real quick. This is what I do all day. Hang on. When I'm not working.
Yes, great.
Like I have it
Yeah.
on me, just feeding me.
Yes.
But I'm like, did I just buy into something? Because I never asked the science. I just know I felt better when I use it.
Yes, no, there's a lot of science on photobiomodulation, and it is incredibly helpful and incredibly healing. That being said, the sun is always the best. But even practitioners that I've worked with, where our big focus is on spending time outside, they do recommend buying a photobiomodulation device.
You're right. They're not all created equally. I did a lot of research before I bought this one with the company. And so they're not all created equally. You're going to want to do your research and make sure that you're getting something that's really going to be beneficial and not just sucking out your pocketbook.
Yeah, exactly. And on that, for the red lights, one of the things you want to check about is flicker rate, because that's not something you can see with your naked eye, but it is something that your body is picking up, and it can kind of negate the benefits that you're getting from the red light. And not all companies pay attention to flicker rate. So in the product description, check if they mention that.
So what's a good flicker rate?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but usually if they haven't paid attention to that, they won't mention it in the product description.
Yeah.
So if you go in the product description and they explain what their flicker rate is, they've probably thought it through when they designed the device.
Well, Meredith, you are amazing. I just love all of this stuff that you're doing. You're so passionate about it. Can you tell everyone where they can connect with you and learn more?
Yes. So we're at quantumhealth.tv and at Quantum Health on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And we'll soon be on the Quantum Biology Collective, where we'll have a directory where you can find practitioners who understand this stuff and videos that explain it a little bit more.
I love it. Thank you so much for being with us. We're going to put all of her links in the show notes. You guys can connect with her very easily and go visit it and learn some more about it. So thank you so much, Meredith.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast. Make sure to visit Jana's website, bestholisticlife.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, or listen there, so you'll never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you simply tell a friend about the show, that'll help too. Let's change the world together, one health expert at a time. Looking forward to seeing you next time.